Right, we've got Bryce Mitchell versus Gene Silva. Silva asked for it after his win at 314, and Uncle D said yes. I think everyone's just decided that Gene Silva's going to demolish Bryce. But I don't know, boys, something smells fishy, and I'm not talking about Tyrone Woodley's sex tape. Everyone is so high on Gene Silva at the moment, and yeah, rightly so. He's got some great wins, and in the cage he's all sorts of aura. The bloke is completely mental, and it's amazing to watch. So now he's taken on old Bryce, who's had a bit of a time of it recently, hasn't he? Of Bryce's many great ideas, starting a podcast was probably the worst. And that is saying something because, let's face it, the dude is full retardo. There's recently been a press conference with Bryce and Gene, which I'm sure you've seen. But in case you haven't, here's a little recap. It started off with everyone booing Bryce. He gets asked a question and then starts going off on all his weird ranty bollocks. And then that's Gene's cue to start jumping in and taunting him. Before that press conference, you would have guessed that this would be quality, but in reality, it just made you feel sorry for Bryce. Look, is Bryce gonna win a Nobel Peace Prize? No, but we all know and like Bryce. Underneath all that flat earth and religious stuff, he's actually a pretty decent guy. Gene, however, is the newer guy, and as exciting as he is, and as cool as the fighting nerds are, in this press conference, he didn't come off well, using the easy target of Bryce to try and win over the fans. And then he started barking, because of course he did. Which actually led to a great line from Bryce, which got a big pop.
You barking up the wrong tree, motherfucker.
It wasn't a good look for Gene. In terms of fan support, I actually think it probably did him more harm than good. But anyway, forget all that. On to the fight. A good fight to watch when considering this matchup is Bryce versus Ilia Topuria. Now, on the face of it, Ilia did actually beat the shit out of Bryce and eventually subbed him. But obviously now we know that Ilia is like a pound for pound top fighter. And when you watch it back, it was only really the second round where Ilia took him apart. In the first round, Bryce was going after it, and he was really going for the takedowns. Now, in hindsight, we also know how good Ilia's jiu-jitsu is now. But even then, Bryce was still able to get him down. With this fight against Silva, it's more of a clear striker versus grappler matchup. Bryce is okay on the feet, but he's a highly skilled grappler with really good finishing potential. We know that Gene is a great striker, but we haven't seen anything from him to show that he's got anything when it comes to grappling. There were fights earlier in Gene's career that you can go and watch on YouTube where he was taken down pretty easily, repeatedly, by low-level guys. In fairness though, those fights were a while ago, but Gene will have had to have improved a lot since then for this fight to not be Bryce just folding him up like a swastika. Another great fight to go back and watch in anticipation for this fight is Bryce versus Edson Barbosa. Edson's a great striker, but Bryce had his way with him. It was an incredible showing for Bryce and he destroyed Edson. It was total domination. He flattened him out, flatter than the earth. I mean, go and watch it if you haven't seen it. It was crazy. If that fight's anything to go by of how Bryce is going to do against a good striker that doesn't have much wrestling, it ain't going to be a good night for Gene. This is all assuming that Gene doesn't have really good wrestling. I mean, he's Brazilian, and I know the fighting nerds are really cool and all that, but we haven't seen much from any of them grappling-wise. Maybe it's just a big secret and they are all in fact incredible grapplers, and we'll never see them get taken down and they'll just continue to rise and put on exciting fights all the way to the belts. Maybe, but I can't help but feel like when they all come across each of their division's aggressive wrestlers that the hype trains may end there. For Gene, there's a good chance this is going to be that test. Now Bryce is as thick as two short planks, but even he knows where he needs to get this fight to secure a victory. So it's a really intriguing fight in that sense. The fight will be fun, I'm sure, but just the thought of these two lunatics in the cage together is hilarious. Staring at each other before the fight, the glove touch, the interactions after the fight, all these little details will be particularly entertaining with this fight with this pair of nutcases. And there's one thing that we do know about this fight with 100% certainty, is that win, lose or draw, Gene Silva, well, he's going to be crying, isn't he? Anyway, if you like this video, give us a sub, check out this playlist for recent bangers. I'll see you next time.